ToBRFV is a virus, a living virus. HREZ is a gene, a living plant gene. Living things evolve, they always change. So it makes sense that when the virus evolves, also resistance might be broken down. And we've seen in the past examples of this, also in tomato breeding. So, today's myth: is it true that HREZ will easily be broken by new mutant strains of ToBRFV? So Mike, I'm an 80s kid. I grew up with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Do you know these guys? Yeah, for me, Teenage Mutant Ninja, they were like the heroes. Mutants are fun. I guess that's not the perception that maybe growers have about mutants. Can you say a little bit about how mutants are generally perceived by growers?
Mutants, especially at our customers, growers, it's always related with resistant breaking mutants. And you can imagine that they don't see it as much as fun as you did in the 80s. But it's, I think, very good to understand that it's natural that a virus tries to overcome resistances. So mutants are natural occurring. So it's not something to be surprised of, let's say it that way.
So as soon as you introduce a new resistance in the market, the pathogen, the virus will evolve. That's just evolution, as I suppose.
That's always in relation with a certain virus pressure. That's also why we as Enza always say resistance is a tool, a very important tool, but needs to be combined with hygiene. Mm-hmm. With hygiene, you keep the virus pressure lower. By that, you reduce the chance to getting mutants.
Hygiene is the key thing here.
Hygiene, yeah. Currently, there are thousands of hectares of HREZ varieties grown all over the world. And we see in the majority, far majority of the cases, that the resistance is holding up very well. But especially when it's combined with hygiene.
So, will mutants arise? For sure, that's biology. But not every mutation is bad. Which ones are, which ones aren't, that's an active research line here at Enza Zaden. When viruses replicate, small copying mistakes happen. Most of these mistakes make the virus weaker, so they fade away quickly. Very occasionally, a copying mistake appears that helps the virus slip past a resistance gene. Those rare mutants usually pay a price. They lose strength somewhere else. In the 1960s, breeders introduced TM22 to protect against Thoen with high resistance. Already in the early deployment of TM22, the virus produced a few mutants that could bypass TM22 recognition. They never became a widespread problem. As an industry, we handled those variants calmly and effectively for decades. So how do we know what mutations are out there and if it's a threat to our HREZ defense? For this, we have an active scouting, a global diagnostics survey. Each week we get new samples coming in, so our phytopathology team, led by Sergio, can keep a close eye on all the diversity that's out there. Sergio, we're here in one of your natural habitats, the molecular lab. We, as a department, receive quite some samples on a yearly basis. Can you say a little bit about the diagnostics process? How does it look like and why do we actually monitor actively the kind of viruses that occur in the world?
Since we deployed our HREZ varieties in the market, we've received over thousands of samples and analyzed them in different ways. In this lab, indeed, this is my natural habitat, so we analyze them molecularly. So we identify, for instance, sequences in the virus that we're interested in. And that's mainly to see if there are particular mutations in a particular gene of the virus that it overcomes the HREZ resistance. And that's why we're analyzing them, amplifying the virus particles and then sequencing them to learn more about those mutations. So we monitor globally the situation by analyzing thousands of samples to study what kind of new mutations are out there. And then, if so, we like to study the impact that it has on our HREZ resistance, and then thirdly, what the impact is on the virus virulence and the capacity to move from plant to plant, so the fitness penalty.
So, the fair conclusion about this myth, that mutants easily break the HREZ resistance. What's true about it? I'm going to be honest with you, there are mutants and some of them are breaking. I don't want to downplay the rare cases where growers have to face the challenges of these breaking mutants. But the reality is, the vast majority, over 95% of all the actors that we have with HREZ genetics stand firm on the ground. The resistance really holds up. And it's not just a matter of genetics, it's always a combination of high pressure. And that's where you and your hygiene measures really come in as a grower. With strong genetics and smart cultivation, we can stay ahead of ToBRFV and work towards a long enduring protection for your tomato crop.